Tammy B here with exclusive and extremely transparent tips, tricks, and stories for wedding planners. After 20 years in the industry, I'm here to help you grow and sustain your wedding business from the inside out. Today, I want to have our very first story time all about my journey as an award-winning wedding planner and what I believe it takes to be successful. If you want to hear more about it, stay tuned. Okay, so this video today is all about my journey as a wedding planner. So again, my name is Tammy B. I am a retired wedding planner, just recently retired. It is currently April 26th, and I did my very last wedding on, April 26, 2020. And I completed my last wedding as a professional wedding and event planner on September 19th, 2019. That was my last couple. And prior to that, I planned weddings for about 20 years. I am now 42, believe it or not. And I started planning weddings my sophomore year at Morgan State University, go Bears, here in Baltimore, Maryland. And over the years, I had a great experience and wanted to share that with you guys today. So I started my very first wedding at 17. So at 17 years old, I had a family member who was getting married, and she was actually using my mother's backyard, my home, as the location of her wedding. And at that point, I had no idea that I was going to spend the next almost 30 years, I guess at that point, planning weddings. But my relative was getting married in my backyard, and I just kind of went crazy. I picked her colors. I selected the bridesmaids' dresses, helped her pick out her dress. Like, I really got into it. And that was like my first taste of weddings. And although I didn't get into, obviously I was 17, I didn't get into the background and the logistics. And you'll learn on my channel that I'm very, very passionate about logistics. So I'm one of those people who I'm left and right-brained, I believe. I'm very much into details, metrics, feedback, data. But I also am extremely creative and love all things beautiful. So wedding planning works out perfectly. So if you're like me, then you're in the right industry, because we need both sides of the brain to be a successful wedding planner. Anyway, I'm getting off track. And so that was my first taste of wedding planning. And I graduated from high school, went to college, and there was a show that used to come on TLC. This was really, really back in the day. But there was a show called The Wedding Story, and it used to come on TLC, or the Learning Channel, as I believe we know it now. And I was so in love with this show that I typed up a resume and said, hey, I think I want to do this. So I put my resume together, and I sent my resume to about 5 local wedding planners. I'm from Washington, D.C., Prince George's County area. If you're from the area, you know they're very close geographically. And Baltimore's not far from there. So I went to college in Baltimore, and home for me was Prince George's County. And so I wanted to work at home. And so I sent my resume out to like 3 to 5 different wedding planners, and no one responded. No one wanted to mentor me or give me an intern opportunity except for one woman. And I worked with this woman for a year, and on my first wedding, she was a vet, by the way. She had at that point been in the industry for 20 years or so. And I was thirsty. I was hungry for this industry, and so I tagged along with her everywhere. And on her first wedding, on my first time going with her to a rehearsal, I got a big job placed in my lap. So this was a huge, I even remember the people's names. I won't say it, but I do remember. It was a huge wedding, 400 guests. 400. And as you may or may not know, as a wedding planner, there are things that you do for all wedding services are not full service, right? So this bride was supposed to be managing her own escort cards. And one of the things that we would do is at rehearsal, we would take all of the wedding day items from the bride so that we could execute on the day of. And that's something that I still did up into like through the through my tenure as a wedding planner under my own company. We did that. I carried that on because it was a great idea. And maybe I'll do a video about that one day. But this bride, we're going through her things, and I'm like, where are your escort cards? Because I was responsible for checking to make sure all of her items were there. 400 escort cards, you guys. She goes, oh, I didn't get them done. So that's a whole nother conversation that we will have, I'm sure, on my channel moving forward, is double checking your bride and just making sure that you have everything that you need from them, right? So 400 escort cards, like the wedding is tomorrow. This is Friday evening, and I have 400 blank escort cards that need to be written. So me, being the overachiever that I've always been, I said, I'll do it. And she gives me her printed out her seating list. And I hand wrote 400 escort cards and then proceeded to put them in alphabetical order that night. Again, the wedding is the next day. I was bitten by the bug. Like, you would think that that would have made someone super angry, but to me, it was just like a bride dropped the ball and here I was to pick it up. This is like the epitome of what wedding planners do. We find these balls that have been dropped, or we stop the balls from dropping altogether. So fast forward, I worked for my mentor for about 3 or 4 years. She began to start, she had never given an assistant weddings, and she started giving me weddings. And so I did about 4 or 5 weddings, I think, for her under her company. And then I proceeded to launch out and branch out on my own. And at that point, I started Blush Wedding and Event Planning Firm. We eventually changed our name to Blush Weddings and Events by Tammy B. Still very near and dear to my heart. You can find us actually on Instagram at Blush Wed and Events on Instagram. I'm still posting there on a regular basis so that you can see all of the great work that we did over the years. But I did start that. I started Blush back in I think I wrote my business plan in like 2003, and began doing weddings very soon after that. Over the years, I literally started out my first year doing 1 wedding. And over the years, we grew and grew I think we grew pretty quickly, actually, to be honest with you. But by the time I closed my business, I was responsible for, from beginning to end, about 35 weddings a year, which is phenomenal. And so in between that time of starting my business and closing my business, again, I still love weddings. Like, if you know anything about this industry, you can't not love it. You can't fall out of love with it. But over that time, I was blessed to have encountered and been awarded several different awards. Every year we were either the Knot Bride's Choice Award and or the Wedding Wire Award. I personally was the resident wedding writer for Jet Magazine for 1 year. So every Wednesday I was giving wedding tips and tricks to brides it was a column called Wedding Wednesday. And I wrote for that column for an entire year, which was such an honor. Like, if you know anything about Jet Magazine and Johnson's publications, that was such an honor. I've been published in Munaluchi. Oh my gosh, I've written for Mother Hustle. I've been published by the Bahamas Wedding Association or Bridal Consultants Association. We've done some really amazing things, and I really just wanted to share just a little bit of our history or my history, to let you know and to kind of qualify why I'm here on this channel. There's so many people who want to start businesses, and my belief is that those beautiful pictures that we see on Instagram are amazing. Like, going viral is a wedding planner's dream. I mean, it's a bride's dream and a groom's dream or a couple's dream. But it's the things that we do as professionals behind the scenes that make and break your business. And I want to talk about those things, and I want to talk about them candidly, because there are a lot of planners, and there are a lot of people out here who really won't tell you everything. And there are just some things that we have to, well, I had to learn the hard way through experience. But I feel like in the world of social media and reviews, no one has the time or the space really to make mistakes, because if you make the wrong mistake and no one tells you ahead of time, hey, remember to do this or don't do that, it could cost you your brand before you get started, because you don't want to start out with like negative reviews and complaints and things like that. And so I want to be a champion for you. I want to give you what I had, which was great mentorship through my channel, and give you all the tips and tricks that I had to learn along the way, right? So that you don't have to make any of the same mistakes that I made, which was one of the same things that I had in my great mentor, was that I learned from her so that I didn't have to learn a lot of things the hard way. And so over the years, that was our experience at Blush Wedding and Event Planning Firm, and me as the owner. I'm trying to think what I could also tell you guys from my experience. I could talk about my very first wedding. No, I won't. I think I'll just stop it there.